Hello, soulmates. Welcome to the Honest Academy. If you are one of our returning subscribers, thank you so much. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. You're going to really enjoy it as time goes on. So, without wasting much of your time, today's video we're going to be looking at how to cut different types of flares. Exactly four different types of flares, beginning with the 360 down to the 90-degree flare. Now we need to know that these four flares, 90, 180, 270 and 360, are the basic types of flare that we have. Upon these types, every other flare comes in. Okay, so we're going to begin with the 360-degree flare. And of a truth, I've been looking for how simple the best way I can use to illustrate this to you so that it will be easy and straightforward to understand. And please, I need you to pay attention so that you get the best out of this. Now, the explanation I need to give on this is that a 360-degree is a full circle like this. This is a full circle, and according to mass is 360 degree. Okay, now there are a lot of mathematics on this and how to arrive this, but the point is that we're looking for the answer because it has already been calculated. You don't need to bother yourself going over again to do a lot of calculations. You're not going to get anything different from what has already been done. Okay, so for a 360-degree flare, for you to get the radius of your circle, you're going to be dividing your circumference by 6.28. This is just the standard. There is nothing more attached to it. So I've seen a lot of persons asking, how did you get 6.28? The answer is that it has been calculated a long time ago and this is constant, like it is permanent. So whenever you want to calculate to get a 360-degree flare, take your circumference, either your waist circumference, let's say your waist is 13, you're going to be dividing 13 by 6.28. We don't want to go into the calculation, we just want to know what the answer is, and this is the answer. So this is for a 360-degree flare. Now for a 180-degree flare, let's go to there before we come to 270. We know that 180 is half of 360, okay, but still going to be your full circumference. The difference is that it will not give you the amount of flare that 360 is going to give you. So here we have 180, half of 360. So if 360, to get the radius of your circumference, you have 6.28. What that means is that you're going to divide 6.28 into 2. And so for you to get a 180 flare, you're going to be dividing your circumference by 3.14. That is half of 6.28. I hope this is making sense to someone. I guess you're not confused. If you are, please ask your question in the comment section and I will reply you. Okay, we've gotten for 360 degrees 6.28. We've gotten for 180, which is half of 6.28, and that will give us 3.14. Now going over to 270, which is 3/4 of the flare. Now this is a whole half. We can divide it into 4 though, because the full circle is divided into 4. So 1, 2 will give us half. We are adding another one here to make it 3/4. Quarter is divided into 4. This will make a 3/4, right? So what we are going to do is very simple. We want to divide 3.14 into 2, and that will give us 1.57. Now we're going to take 1.57 and add it to 3.14, which is half, and that will give us 4.71. Okay, so we have for 270-degree flare. I hope this is clear. Let me start again. 6.28 is for 360-degree flare, half of the flay, which is 180, will divide 6.28 into 2 to get 3.14. Now we want to get for the 3/4 of the flay, which is half plus another 1/4, and that we are going to get half of this 3.14 and add it to the 3.14. So here we'll be left with 1, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, the 270-degree flay. And when we add it up, 1.57 plus 3.14, that will give us 4.71. So just have this at the back of your mind that if you want to have the flay of 270-degree, you're dividing your circumference by 4.71 to get your radius. I hope that is clear. Now to the last one, which is 90-degree. Remember, we're left with one section of the circle. That is 90-degree flay. What do we do? Remember, we've divided half into 2, and we have 1.57. That is 6.28 divided into 4. That will give us 1.57. So whenever you want to calculate for the 90-degree flay, you're dividing your circumference by 1.57. So my advice to you now is that by all means try to get these answers by in your head. But don't get me wrong, just if you know how to cram it, cram it. If you can write it somewhere, write it somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are just permanent. You need them whenever you're calculating your flay. I hope this is clear enough. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how we can use these numbers to fold our flay and cut according to the kind of flay that we need. Okay, while demonstrating this, I'm also going to show you another way you can use to get your flay. That on my own, I call it free method. Okay, it's quite simple and easy. I will show you in each of them how you can use the other method. It's not going to be confusing, it's just straightforward. So let's go right in. Now the waist measurement to be using is 13, and we want the length to be 5 inches. These are just the two measurements you need for your flay. You need the circumference of where the flay will be, and you need the length of the flay. It could be your waist circumference, it could be your sleeve circumference, it could be wherever you want it to be. So we'll be using waist of 13 and length of 5. Now to get the length or the size of fabric that we need to be working with, we need to get our calculation first, then add it to the length of our fabric. Right, now we said we're working with the circumference of 13 for a 360-degree flay force. We're dividing 13 by 6.28, and that will give us 2.1. 13 divided by 6.28 will give us 2.1, and then we're adding 2.1 to 5 inches, which is the length of our fabric, and that will give us 7.1, right? So we're going to use this measurement to put our fabric on fold. So like I said, we need our paper to be folded into 2. Remember, we calculated for the radius, and we have 2.1 plus the length of our fabric, which is 5, and that will give us 7.1. Okay, so I folded into 2 this way. I'm going to repeat to this other side, and that will be folding into 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so from this edge, remember, these sides are closed, these sides are closed. If any part is open, that means your flay is going to be open. So from this point, we're going to measure the length of our radius, which is 2.1. So here I'm going to measure 2.1, 2.1, and I'm going to take it all round. So this is our 2.1, and from here, since we already know our length, I'm measuring 7.1 from this point. 7.1. I will place my tape this way and rotate it round. 7.1. Now the point I need to make clear here is that if you cut this exactly at this line, you're going to have excess. Except you want to pleat a little, then you can cut from here. But if you want it to be exactly the measurements that you want, you need to come up by, if you're using a fabric, come up by ½ inch. But in this case, I'm coming up by 1/4 of an inch, okay, because the paper might not be stretching. If this is a fabric, there's every tendency that once you cut it on this pattern, it's going to increase when you open it. So I'm reducing it by 1/4. If you're using a fabric, come up by ½ inch before cutting, right? So that it will not be too wide when you place it where it's supposed to be. So rather than cutting on this part, I'm going to be cutting on this part. Then below this part, you can add ½ inch or 1 inch allowance depending on what you are doing. You can add an allowance to this part. Now before I forget, I told us I'm going to show you another method which you will use to get this if you're finding it difficult with dividing by 6.28 rather. And I hope this is quite simple. The two methods are quite simple. Now because our paper is folded into 4 and this is a 360-degree flip, because it is folded into 4, I'm going to be dividing my circumference by 4. So the circumference I'm working with is 13 divided by 4, and that will give me 3.25. That is 3/1/4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, after folding my fabric this way, I'm going to bend my tape like this and place it to know where 3.2 will be. I'm not going to measure it the way I measured this one. If I measure it the way I measured this one, look at where it will be, and it's going to be very big. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this, just the way I curve my radius, and I will locate where 3.2 is. You can see it's almost just at the point, the second line that I drew on top. That is where it is. So once you place it this way, you will mark where it should be. And when you remove after marking, you can now place your tape and locate where it is and go round your radius. I hope this is clear. So both of them are basically on this part, and this is where I'm going to be cutting. So this is what we have after cutting, and I'm going to tear it open and wear it on the mannequin to see how it is. So you can see it. I'm just holding it at the back so that it doesn't fall off. You can see it's covering up, and this is our 360-degree flay. Now going over to a 180-degree flay, we said we're going to be dividing by 3.14, which is constant. Okay, so 13 divided by 3.14 is going to give us 4.1. You can use your calculator to calculate it. 4.1. So as usual, we're going to add our length, which is 5 to it, and that will be 9.1. So to fold it, this is what we're going to do. As usual, we're going to fold our paper like this into two this way. But rather than folding like this the way we folded before, we're going to make a triangular form. We're going to hold it at an edge like this and then make it a triangle, right, like in a bias form. And this is what we have. So from this edge we can now take our measurement. I said we're looking for 9 points. Don't mind me, this is a paper I've just been putting together. So on a normal day we're going to mark 9.1, which is our normal measurement, right? But let's take our radius first, and this is 4.1. So here we're measuring 4.1, 4.1, and 4.1. So going to connect them together. The way you're looking at this, it's not a straight line. If you make it straight, you're going to have a V shape. So you're going to curve it the way it is, and then take the length and curve as well. So after getting this, as usual, like I said before, we're going to come up by 1/4. If you're using a fabric, come up by half an inch or 1 cm. Here is 1/4, so that you don't be at a loss, like you be on the safe side, right? Even if it eventually becomes small, you can still adjust it, but if it is too big, you cannot do anything about it. So we are cutting on this line. So for the other measurements I showed us, because this paper is folded into 4, we're still going to divide our measurement by 4, and it's still the same 3.25, and it is still at this point, which I came up by 1/4 of an inch. This is 3.2. Okay, and we're still going to cut the same way. Now the difference between the 360 and the 180 using this bent method is in the folding. It's in the folding. When I cut it, you're going to see that it will not be as full as the 360. That is just the difference. The calculations are the same, but the difference is in the folding of the paper using this method, this bent method. Now if in the calculation of the standard method, the difference is in everything, the number and in the folding. I hope this is making sense to you. Please let me know in the comment section if this is what you really like, or if there's something you don't understand. Let me know in the comment section. I would like to hear from you. So after cutting it, this is the mouth. You can see it is half of the circle. You can just see it is half of the circle, right? So I'm going to wear it on the mannequin and you'll see it. So you can see what it looks like. The flay and the 360 flay are not the same. Right now, after doing this, because this is paper, it does not stretch, but if it is fabric, it's definitely going to match up here. So after cutting and it's just this small, you can always trim out a little, and assuming you cut exactly where we marked in the first place, it is just going to be wider than the measurements. Now going for a 270-degree flay, we're going to be dividing by 4.71. This is a 3/4 flay, and we're going to be folding our paper into 3. And of course, there is no way you can just fold into 3 without cutting one part out. That is just one specific thing about this method. You're going to cut one part out so that you can fold your fabric or your paper into 3. Remember, we're dividing by 4.71. So 13 divided by 4.71 is going to be 2 3/4, right? 2 3/4, and we're adding 5 to 2 3/4, and that will be 7 3/4. So first of all, we're going to fold our fabric this way. Fold it again like the 360 method. Get the crease line, right, and then cut off one part. we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are cutting off one part to have 1, 2, 3, because the calculation is going to cover only for those 3 and not for the 4 parts. So we are going to get our scissors and cut this section out and fold it back. So here one part is out, and this is what we have, and we're folding it like this. So now we have 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to get our measurement, which is 2 3/4 for the radius. This is 2 3/4, that is 2.75, and we're going to rotate it this way as usual, and also get our length. So after marking it this way, all you have to do as usual, and you cut. Now, using the other method I've been showing us in the previous two, because our paper is folded into 3, we're dividing our circumference by 3, right? The paper is folded into 3 and our circumference is 13. 13 divided by 3, and that will give us 4.25, 4 1/4. And so as usual, you're going to measure to know where 4 1/4 is going to be. Now there is no particular wherever, once you measure it this way, wherever it stops, that is where you're going to mark. You can decide to come up, or you decide to cut it at that. This is just why I call it free hand method, is that you use your discretion to know what you're going to do. You might cut it and it becomes big, and you might cut it and it becomes exactly what you want. Okay, you can see where this one is, just at the same line, but it depends on how you place your tape. It might be bigger, it might be smaller, it might give you exactly, but within the same range. So after cutting it, you can see how it is. You can see it's not a full flay and it's not a half flay, because this part is out. So we're going to place it on the mannequin and see how it is. You can see how it is. This is our 3/4 flay. It's not as big as 360 and it's not as flat as 180. Okay, this will fit people that are not so big and people that are not too slim. Now we are getting close to the last one for today, which is the 90-degree flay. Now if you're cutting the 90-degree flay, you don't need to fold your paper. According to the standard, you're not folding your paper, you're just leaving it straight. So you're dividing your circumference by 1.57, right? 1.57 for a 90-degree flay, and you're going to get your answer and mark it at this point right now. 13 divided by 1.57, rather, we have 8 1/4. So we're going to measure from this point 8 1/4. This is 8 1/4 here, and we're going to rotate it round. If you're using your fabric, you're not going to fold your fabric. You're just going to get one edge and take your measurement from that part. Here we're going to take our measurement, and then we mark the length of the fabric we need. We mark the length of the fabric we need, and as usual, we're going to come up by 1/4 of an inch, and we cut. For the other method, you're still going to do the same thing. Now you're placing the whole of the 13, the whole of the circumference. You're not dividing it because it is just one piece. Okay, so this is 13. It will just give you a guide of where your measurement is going to be. You can take it slowly and measure until you get what is accurate for you. right? So this is how it is, and I'm going to cut it. Now this is what we have, and this is our flay. One thing I need you to notice is that in all of this I did not add any allowance, no zipper allowance, no sewing allowance. So in your own case you can add your allowance. This is just a guide. You can, if you're using your pattern to cut, if you're using paper to cut before transferring on fabric, you can add your allowance after cutting or while transferring to your fabric. But if you're cutting on the fabric direct, please calculate your allowance, everything together. If you're going to be having zipper allowance, add your zipper allowance to your circumference, add your sewing allowance to your circumference, and then divide everything together. All right, and don't forget to always come up by half an inch after getting the actual measurements that you need. So I'm going to place this on the mannequin and you'll see how it is. So you can see our 90-degree flay. It doesn't flay like the others because it's just one part of the flay, right? So thank you for watching, and if you've not subscribed to this channel up to this point, please do subscribe. I don't know what you're waiting for. Please subscribe and don't forget